Hey Lizards, Gizmo here. I wanted to share some of the cigars we'll be smoking in May and June, so you can smoke along with us if you'd like. For Cubans, we've got Montecristo No. 2, Cai Dorce's Coronas Claros, San Cristobal de la Habana La Punta, and Por Laranaga Petit Coronas coming up. And for New Worlds, we've got Herrera Esteli Habano and Robusto Grande, Oliva V and Churchill, and Davidoff Millennium and Pyramid, with much, much more to come. Have a suggestion? Email us, loungelizardspod@gmail.com. That's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. And now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo, and tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Grinder, Senator, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some rum, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 28th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We attempt to define Cuban Twang, we discuss Jamaican Rum, and we share our not-so-kind review of the new Batman film, all among a variety of other things for the next hour. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair 12-year aged Appleton Estate Rare Casks Rum with the Montecristo No. 2. A classic Cuban pyramid tonight on the pod, the Montecristo No. 2. A well-regarded cigar, I would argue probably top 5, if not top 3, selling cigar in the world as far as Habanos is concerned. Certainly up there with the D4. And, just a classic Cuban. You know, any cigar smoker really knows this cigar. Even if they haven't had it, they know Montecristo and they know this specific cigar.
It's an absolute must to have in your humidor.
It's kind of iconic, actually.
It really is.
Yeah. As far as handmaids are concerned.
Yep.
It is. I mean, this and the D4 are the two most sold Cubans worldwide.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that, we talked a little bit about Montecristo on the Linnea 1935 episode we did all the way back, 20-something episodes ago. And we talked about the inconsistency of Montecristo. And I think that since that time, I have had a much warmer experience with this brand, or this marca, than I could have ever thought possible. And I am smoking so many of these cigars, it's obscene.
I agree.
Have you really? We haven't heard about this at all. Tell us more, Gizmo.
I have completely fallen in love with the Monte No. 2.
Yeah.
I think it's
the young
great,
stuff it's just smoking so good.
They seem to be so much more consistent than they've ever been recently.
And they're coming out of the boxes these days. These beautiful wrappers, just so well packed.
They must be fake.
They must be fake. So let's cut this thing, boys. The Montecristo No. 2. It's a pyramid, 52 ring gauge by.
It's got a little box press, right?
Yeah, I think that's just from being in the dress box.
You like that, Grinder? That move?
That was a good move.
Wide open draw for me.
Very smooth.
Same.
Yeah, same here.
So we're smoking cigars tonight from 2020 LTO. I think May 20 or October 20 or something, but only a couple years old. And I think that, for the listener out there, this is a great cigar to get young. Keep it well, and I think it's gonna.
Are we lighting?
Great.
Apparently, we're lighting now.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm totally out of practice, boys. I'm just so excited about this cigar.
We didn't get the cold draw.
Yeah, what are you guys getting on the cold draw?
Nothing.
Not true.
I always get that Cuban Twang, little chocolatey, little leather.
Yeah.
Definitely get the leather.
Yeah.
I don't get chocolate.
Gizmo nailed the notes. That's exactly what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this cigar, like I said, it's really the king of Cuban Twang. When I see someone looking for that call it an X factor that only Cuban cigars have, I think this is the one that has it more than any other. So, all right, boys, let's light this thing. The Montecristo No. 2. Awesome pyramid. 52 ring gauge by 6 1/8. Really nice in the hand. And I think this is really starting, if you want to call it the Battle of the Pyramids here on the pod. We're going to have the P2 coming up, the Partagas. We're going to have the Upman 2 coming up, the Robania Unico.
All the twos.
All the twos are coming.
I got a box of P2s with this shipment. These out of the box compared to the P2. it was just light years ahead as far as aging process. Like the P2s were so young still.
Yeah, they
I,
do
I
more
need
time.
I need a box of these, Giz.
Okay.
Isn't it a bit of
This
a?
is
It's
this is good.
It's a flavor bomb
This is unlike
right
any-
off the light.
Yeah,
It's
I
fantastic.
think there's something going on with young
Gotta be
Monty
something.
twos.
Because they've never been like this.
There's something very special about 19s, 20s, 21s that everybody is saying that they are just some of the best they've ever been, which is
Wow.
awesome.
It's great.
this is one of the best Monty twos I've had.
I'm so
in the last 10
surprised.
years.
I don't doubt it.
I mean,
think
I
it's
had such
very
bad,
much
I
high
had
praise.
such bad Monty twos. I almost gave up on the Monties. Only Monty I smoke is like the number 1, the number 3, which is fantastic, and the Petite Edmundos.
Petite, yeah.
That's it.
I mean, for the listener, this is fascinating because you were just reflecting on how you hate Monty twos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a good Monty two. I mean, this is fantastic.
Makes me really happy because, we joke, you guys were busting my balls about how I've been raving about these every time I smoke them recently. I mean, I smoke 3, 4, 5 of these a week now, and I can't believe that they've slotted into my rotation that frequently. I'm smoking a ton of these.
And it's funny, months ago, we were talking about how inconsistent they were. They'd be plugged, draw issues.
And why you had, the comment that I remember making on the Linea episode was, why do you have to spend this kind of money on Montecristo to get this kind of experience? And I mean, what, 6 months later?
Right.
I'm totally going back on that statement.
How much are these?
So you're looking probably about
14, 15.
Yeah, you're probably looking at maybe somewhere between 13 and 17, depending on where you get them.
Great.
And so these come in a variety of different packaging. They come in a display box of 15 cigars, which are the cardboard packs, 5 packs of 3. They come in a dress box of 10, which I really like. I really like the dress boxes of 10 because I feel they're not as packed in there. And then they also have the dress box of 25.
I need 100 cab of this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely going to keep buying these.
Oh yeah,
This is really good.
it's awesome.
So what are you guys getting on
I mean,
the
just
flavor
on
of
the
this thing?
light. Sam, I'm getting some chocolate.
Yeah, I think cocoa's right there.
Cocoa, leather.
Yeah. Maybe it's my taste buds, but for me, the Cuban Twang, I always get dried fruit with that. For me,
It's definitely some Cuban twang on this. Yeah.
I feel like the young ones especially that I've had some older ones that I thought were mediocre at best.
Mhm.
I had some 13s, I had some 16s, and I had some 17s. 17s were the worst of all of them. The 13s were all right. The 16s were mediocre, but never something that I was like passionately reaching for. And these, even young, are just blowing them out of the water.
absolutely.
I think one of the things that's cool about this cigar is this was one of the first Cubans I had when I first started getting into Cuban cigars. And I think what's interesting is the flavor notes that a lot of you mentioned, cocoa, dried fruit. Those are a lot of flavor notes that we get out of New World sticks. So I feel like it's a really good bridge if you have primarily smoked New World cigars to get into Cubans. You get a lot of those notes that you would get out of like even something with a Maduro wrapper that's New World, which I really like and I think is very unique. Like this is probably one of the most chocolatey Cubans, period.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I would compare it to
Agreed.
other than this.
Milk chocolate.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. Not deep, nothing deep. This is also one of the more accessible Cubans,
It is.
right? And ubiquitously available. So
What's interesting about you saying it's
piggybacking on Senator's comments, it makes sense for guys that are just getting into Cubans to really try this cigar.
now, what I think is interesting about you saying that, because I completely agree. Now, what I think is different about any other cigar that we've said that about is I would not say that this cigar is mild or medium. I'd argue that this cigar is medium to full in flavor. So what's funny about you saying it's accessible, it is, but it is a flavor bomb.
A lot of guys confuse this. There's this confusion. Full flavor does not equate to a full-bodied cigar. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, because you're not getting a nicotine,
No,
kick on
Well,
this
there's
thing.
very few Cubans that you would consider full.
That's true.
Strength-wise.
that's
Yeah.
true.
It's not a Nicaraguan cigar. That's
Right.
where you get the the
Full
strength,
body
the
and-
full body,
yeah,
the
and
strength.
full
These are
flavor.
full flavored, but yet more like a medium to full cigar.
I'll say that we're lucky the price point that we're able to get these for, because one of the things that frustrates the hell out of me when you travel abroad, and I've said this before, the only two cigars you can find hilariously even at a newsstand are a Partagas D4 and a Monte 2. But the price that you pay for this cigar, I mean, how much were these, Giz? a
I
stick?
think I got these for 14 or 15.
All right, 14, 15 a stick. No exaggeration. I've been in London and Singapore and had to pay 40 something US dollars.
Wow.
Just for a Monte 2.
That's
It's
outrageous.
insane.
Wow.
You know, it's kind of cool though. If you can pick up one of these cigars at a newsstand, that's pretty awesome.
That is
I know.
awesome.
Can you imagine just walking like
Oh.
in Times Square?
I'll
It'd
take a D4 tubo
Yeah,
and a Diet Coke.
it'd be a
And
dream.
a hot dog?
That'd be a dream come true.
And the Wall Street Journal. Thank you. And my Greek coffee.
Yeah, this is really, really a special cigar. Burning great smoke output.
Yeah,
So-
lots of
Too
lots
bad
of
Puba's
plumey
not here.
smoke.
I was about to say that. I wish Puba were here.
Puba hates this, right? He doesn't like.
I'm similar to you. I wish Puba was here because he's had a very similar opinion to what Rooster's had, and I would think that this cigar.
I think he would like this.
Where
I
did
think
where
so,
did
too.
he get the shitty perspective on Monty?
I think he and I have debated this for a while. I think he got a bad box, which happens in any
Yeah.
cigar. Sometimes you just get a bad box, and I think that sort of ruined it for him. But I think if he tried this, he'd be really pleased.
Quick aside, I got a bad box of D4s.
Wait a second. Did I give you your first Monty too?
Very possible.
I think I did.
I think you might have.
I don't think.
I
there's-
think you did when you ordered them.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Is there such a thing as a bad box of D4s?
I got a
Does
bad,
that happen?
I got a bad box of D4s, man.
Wow.
What was
Yeah.
wrong with him?
They smoked.
He left them on the roof of his car.
No,
Touche.
that was a bad day.
Touche.
The flavor was just. They didn't burn at all, and I had them. The humidity wasn't a problem. I had them for a while. They were stored probably about 6 months, a year in my humidor. It was a box of 25, and versus another box in the same code, versus other similarly aged cigars, and in the dress box, excuse me, in the semi-boit nature box, tasted horrible.
Sometimes there's
Horrible.
sometimes like a stall when you're aging some of these cigars where it kind of doesn't get as good as it should for a certain period of time. It's like when you're cooking meat. Like there's a stall when you're smoking, a brisket, And I think for aging cigars, you age it long enough, it's there's a hump to get over.
There may be something to what you're saying because what I feel I tasted or experienced with that, and not to get off on D4s, but I feel like what I experienced with that is I think that at some point they were so over humidified, almost to the point of
yeah.
mold,
Right.
that I think that there's just something happened there that wasn't good.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the Monty 2.
Money too.
So let's talk about Cuban Twang. I think that that's an interesting flavor note that I don't know if somebody put a gun to my head or put a microphone in front of my face that I could very adequately describe. Do any of you feel like you can do that? Because I don't know.
I don't know what it is, so I don't know if I could.
I'll give it my best shot, but I'm with you in that what I'm about to say doesn't satisfy even
I also
the
have an
description
opinion.
that I'm looking for. But I think it's a bit of like a salty minerality that you get out of the cigar. Like when I think of Cuban Twang and when I like this cigar, like I imagine me smoking it like on a beach, like in the Caribbean. It's very hard to describe, but for me, it's like that salty minerality that kind of describes the flavor.
So that saltiness is, I think, what the Cuban Twang is,
Yeah.
right?
It distinguishes it from any other cigar.
It's almost
I
like,
think.
it's like there's something on the front of your tongue or something, like in the roof of your mouth. that
Yep.
There's something that happens there that I guess we might equate it to salt. Maybe it's something from the water.
probably the human sweat from the rollers.
Oh,
Jesus.
Thanks a lot,
That's
Blinder.
not the
Oh,
visual
God.
I
That's
want.
not
All right, this is the last
Advertising.
episode of the podcast. I don't know if it's from the soil or the water. I don't know what it is, but what were you gonna say?
that? Why cutting that?
I quit cigars.
So Cuban Twang equates
Sweat.
roller sweat.
How dare you?
No, I think that it's important to have that discussion around this cigar because I think this cigar more than any has it so predominantly for me. When I light this, it's like if somebody handed me a Nicaraguan fake Monte 2, that would be maybe one of the easier cigars to go. This is off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's so classic to this cigar. But I think it is a saltiness. I think it's a minerality. There's something about the way the smoke coats the roof of your mouth.
It coats your entire mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say something else about this. The construction of this cigar. So we've talked about how we've had bad Monte 2s before, but I want to make one distinction. I've smoked a lot of Monte 2s. It's remarkable to me that I have never once had a plugged Monte 2.
That's
I haven't
interesting.
either.
Has anyone?
That's true.
I've really
I
my
haven't.
problem's been like the flavors muddled sometimes.
Doesn't burn well.
So,
But I have never ever taken a perfect draw to a
Twice.
Monte 2.
So I've had 2 plug Montes, and I've had the Oyo, the Epi 2s, and those are also kind of similar in performance. For me, it's always a plugged cigar.
Yeah, for
When
me,
it-
the Monte 2s that I've had in the past that I was talking about, the flavors were like non-existent. They were like absolutely flat. Like I wasn't getting anything out of it. This morning, I had an Edmundo that was just like that. It was flat.
Was it super
There was
aged?
like no flavor. No,
Yeah.
not like highly aged, like last couple of years, maybe 2019 box or something. But I get no flavor. I get huge amount of flavor out of the petite Edmundo, but the regular double Edmundos, nothing. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's a bad
Yeah.
box. I mean, this, on the other hand, is just phenomenal.
It's so flavorful.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It's
And
amazing.
you know what's interesting about you saying bad box? I've kind of bounced around between several boxes that I have just to see, like, wait a second, am I getting just A plus, call it a PSP, like an amazing box, or am I experiencing something that's happened pretty commonly? And I think I have 4 or 5 boxes. I've tried one of each, similar ages, and they
Same
are
thing.
swinging.
Yeah.
They're all swinging for the fences.
Oh yeah,
It's good. Good to know.
tasting very nicely with this rum that we're having tonight.
Yeah, let's talk about the rum.
I haven't tasted the rum yet.
The Appleton Estate, 12-year aged.
It's good.
A lot of warm feelings in the room for Appleton Estate from our dear senator.
I love this rum.
That's great. Wow.
It's really good.
Oh,
So is it as this is like when you're in Jamaica and you're real Jamaican, this is what you want to drink. Appleton.
So in Jamaica, like their version of like a well rum that like every human being that's drinking rum is drinking is called Ray and Nephew. That's like ubiquitous throughout Jamaica. Like that's what any bar you go to, you're going to get Ray and Nephew. And Ray and Nephew, ironically, bought and owns Appleton Estate. And then I would say for age statement rums, Appleton Estate is like the gold standard in Jamaica.
yeah.
so we talked about it a little bit. I'm sorry to interrupt, but most rums don't have age statements, right? That's
So yeah, I would say the vast majority do not.
okay.
And then some brands have higher end stuff that they do have age statements on.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you want, I can talk a little bit just about Appleton and kind of even some of the different age statements that they have.
I was gonna say I would love to hear that because I was, just observing. I've seen rums more so than scotches have age statements that are just like so old, and I'm like, how is this a 35-year-old rum that's $60?
Yeah, I just
Oh,
saw.
that's bullshit.
I just saw a 30-year rum.
or maybe not 60. I don't know, something
Yeah, it can't
something
be.
that's not 3.
Because I'll give you an example. So Appleton Estate has a 50-year rum, but it goes for like $6,000 a bottle.
Wow.
So like they have heavily aged ones, but you got to pay a real premium
But
for
you
them.
don't they blend like certain different ages?
That's what I was going to
into-
say. I remember when we did the Four
Right.
Square
Right.
rum, and Puba went into a deep dive on it.
So it's no different than Scotch. So that's one of the things that's interesting about age statement rum. They're actually identical in the sense that, and I can only say this for Appleton Estate. So I'm not saying every rum. I know they don't cut corners. I'm sure plenty of brands do. And I don't think Foursquare does either. When Appleton Estate puts 12-year on that bottle, that guarantees that the minimum age of anything in that bottle is at least 12. There could be some stuff that's 14, 15 years blended in there with it.
So
The
it's-
same with a single malt. They have to guarantee the minimum is 12
plus.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. I should have known that.
So on the episode we did that had the Four Square rum, I remember Puba saying that guy that makes the Four Square rum is at war, has kind of declared war on the rum industry because of the insincere age statements. on rum.
100%.
So
100%.
that, it's nice to hear that this is a rum that's also kind of subscribed to authentic age statements.
That's the thing. So like in Jamaica, they're extremely, extremely stringent about the requirements for rum and just any age statement that goes on the bottles. I think, if I'm being honest, there are a number of Dominican rums. I think like, where was the Foursquare from? Is that Barbados?
I think it's
that's
correct,
Barbados.
Yes.
Which would make sense. For whatever reason, I think like in the Dominican, on some of the other islands, it's a lot looser what you can claim around the rum. And there's a shit ton of added sugar in a lot of these rums. I mean, rum is obviously from sugar cane, but when you take a sip and it tastes like, a Jolly Rancher or syrup, like, they've added a ton to it. And one of the reasons I've always loved Appleton Estate, and you can probably tell from drinking this, it's not overly sweet. Like, it's very balanced for a rum. I think there are a lot of Cuban rums that are like that do not add any sugar, and you're just getting it straight from the sugar cane. So that's why, Appleton to me has always been a brand that I trust and a rum that I really enjoy. And I think they have a really just cool history. I mean, they're founded in 1749.
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
they've been around for a very long time. And then I think even just a cool fact about who's really responsible or the brains behind the operation now, Appleton Estate has the world's first female master blender. It's a woman named Joy Spence, who for the last 35 years has been the master blender
Wow.
for Appleton
35
Estate.
years.
Wow.
Very cool.
It's crazy.
And then I mentioned, obviously, they have a number of different age statements. So their sort of entry level rum has around 4 years. Then they have a reserve blend that's around 6 years. They have a 12 that we're drinking, a 21, and a 50-year-old. And I mentioned the 50-year-old goes for like $6,000 a bottle. But there's something for everyone. And the rum we're drinking, I mean, this is now grinder territory, but it's a blend of rum from pot and column stills.
Oh,
And that's all I've got.
nice.
So I have a hard time finding this. Where did you find this?
Gizmo found it.
Oh, Giz
I found it. I found it at a place about 10 minutes from my house.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always on the lookout for it. I never ever can find it.
Yeah, it's a little shop. I can point you to it. It was $52.
Yeah, I mean, the
It
reason,
wasn't bad.
I mean, it's great. Call me crazy, but when I smell this,
You can smell it.
I smell like a bag of aromatic pipe tobacco.
Yeah.
That's an
For any
interesting
for any
comment.
pipe smokers in the listener, like I smell pipe tobacco right now.
It's on the nose, really exquisite.
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
exquisite.
Yeah.
You got to get your nose
That's
in
a
there.
really interesting comment because it does smell like
Doesn't it
that.
smell
like when
like
you put your
sweet
face.
pipe
If
tobacco?
you go to a tobacconist and you stick your face in the jar.
Cherry Cavendish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I find very cool about this scotch and pairing it with this cigar, which
Rum.
I kind
It's a
of,
rum, sir.
or excuse me, the rum. Wow, good call. The rum. I'm just so used to saying scotch on this podcast. The rum, pairing it with this salty, twangy
Yeah,
Cuban, it's kind of
they go like for like.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, like you can tell it's Caribbean. I think it's got this odd sweetness, this apple crisp sweetness, cherry Cavendish, as Rooster said.
I think the pairing is
And then
really enjoyable.
Sync that up to
Yeah.
the saltiness of the so-called Cuban twang. It's just like salt balancing out the sweetness. It's great.
Yeah, they're perfectly complementary.
Yeah.
So it's actually very, very funny that you say that. And I'm looking some of this up because I know that what you're saying is real and exists, but I'm trying to understand why. So there's a thing when you talk about Jamaican rum, and there's obviously a ton of different brands there. They say that Jamaican rum has this funk to it. They call it a funk. And exactly what you're describing, that smell, as I look this up, it says in rum, the funk refers to an array of distinctive aromas produced by organic compounds known as esters. These aromas can vary from ripe tropical fruit notes to notes moving into like even clay, a whole bunch of different things. So what you're picking up is very real. Like it's a characteristic that's very unique in Jamaican rum. And I like because when you taste it, it's very balanced in that it's not overly sugary or sweet. You're getting a whole bunch of different flavors. And I think we
Yeah.
were just pulling out a bunch of them. I think there's so many.
And
I mean, I get nutmeg and all
Yes.
kinds of dried
It's
fruit.
subtle though. It's not
Yeah.
dominating.
No.
It doesn't predominate or dominate the taste profile, which is great. It still tastes like a rum.
It
It's
does,
just got
but
this
to me,
little-
it's very sophisticated.
That's the thing.
It's
I think
unusual.
This is one of the more complex
Very.
rums.
And
Yeah,
I,
there's-
I like that they're not pulling the flavor from this added sugar, which I feel
Yeah.
like anytime I get an average rum, I never really enjoy it because I just feel like it's like kind of like candy in a way. It's just it tastes natural to
There's
me.
so many different whispers of flavor with this pairing with this cigar, truly Cuban, Monte 2, iconic, whatever iconic word you want to describe it. And then the faint tastes of these, fruit. I'm getting apple fruit, the cherry, the funk, it's subtle and all the different subtleness is really kind of marrying well together.
Bam Bam loves the funk.
I love when you talk in the third person, by the way.
But it's funny how
Well,
you
there
said
is there is a third person for Bam Bam.
There is.
It comes out.
It's
Every once in a while, he makes
it's
an
an
appearance.
absolute alter ego.
Yeah.
No doubt about
What
it.
was that?
I was going to say, no, it's funny that you say that it's not very dominant because there are some rums where like that funk you're describing is like super, super, super dominant. And in this, it's like very balanced. You're just getting little notes of a
Yeah.
lot of different things that I think just make for really complex,
It
enjoyable
is.
rums.
It's sophisticated, without a doubt.
The second half of this cigar is really kicking me.
You're
pretty
already in
well.
the second half.
Sorry.
Wow.
The second. I'm sorry. The second third.
Oh, okay.
The second
got it.
third.
Yeah, you're not as far along.
No, that's not. Clearly, that's not half of the cigar.
So, would you describe this cigar? What kind of act play would you describe this cigar? Because for me, I feel like it's very complex and flavorful and interesting, but I don't feel like it changes much throughout, which I like.
I do too.
I agree with that. I would say it's one act in that it's consistent all the way through. I just think it picks up in strength as you
Yeah.
go, as you work your way through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also plays into how fast you're smoking it. If you're pulling a lot, if you're heating it up, I think it's going to give you a little more oomph. But if you take your time, if you milk an hour 15 out of this, as opposed to like Pagoda would smoke this in 40 minutes, if you don't heat it up too much, it's going to be good.
I say this about cigars fairly frequently, but one of the things that I really love is the aroma of the cigar. So like me enjoying someone else in the room smoke a good cigar can be just as pleasurable sometimes as smoking
Absolutely.
it yourself.
Yep.
And this cigar to me is like very classic. When I was like 16 years old at the golf course and some guy was smoking a cigar down the hole and like I was getting the gust of that. Like this to me is like that summertime, like green grass, beautiful scenery. It's like quintessential to me.
It's interesting you say about the aroma coming off of it too. If you smell where it's burning, the burn line, I love how these smell at the burn line.
That was too much for me.
Take it easy, grinder. Take it easy.
little warm in the nostrils.
Send in the nurse, please.
To that point, though, I think this was a perfect pairing in that both the Monte 2 and the rum are just so flavorful, aromatic. This is great.
It's awesome. Fantastic pairing.
We talked a little bit about counterfeit. We joked about it, but this cigar, I think, is aside from Cohiba, which obviously is really counterfeited. This cigar is counterfeited, like almost more than any other regular production cigar outside of a Cohiba Robusto.
Well, it's easy.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
an easy one to do. With the band, the problem is with Montecristo is this simple brown band is so easy to replicate. There's nothing special really about it. There's a little embossed on it for the, what do they call it?
Fleur-de-lis.
But otherwise, the band is really not that. There's nothing really that special about it. However, I do hear that if you take the band off and you put a black light on it, there is an MC
Really?
hidden
Are you serious?
on the band. Yeah.
So
on the
where's
white.
do you have your black light on you?
I
feel
don't.
like
I
that's
left it at
something you
home.
should carry with you.
Yes. For the
I'll
listener,
check all your bands before we go
buy
home.
your black lights immediately. That's a cool fact.
Yeah, there's a little MC on the band underneath.
In case
MC
anyone-
Hammer.
Yeah,
MC
I was
Hammer.
gonna say in case anyone wants to know who controls the mic.
Can't touch this.
Yeah, this is really, really delicious. Oh, so I wanted to bring something up
Uh-oh.
because I feel vindicated.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I'm looking at you because I'm about to look at him.
Oh, there you go.
You're
Direct
waving
it that way.
I'm
You're
looking-
waving
I'm
your,
looking at you,
your
teeing it up.
finger.
Because I'm
Jesus.
about to throw it to Senator. But I got chastised a little bit a couple episodes back for walking out of a movie.
Oh.
Ah,
Oh,
this
not
is
at all.
good.
And
This is good.
I was feeling a little bad about it. Was I too critical of the Batman movie? Was I too rough on it? Did I walk out unnecessarily? And Senator, what was your experience with the
So
Batman
I
film?
have to say, I'm glad you brought it up because I did say that I would publicly back you up here. First of all, let's just make sure that we separate this from everything else, and that you can be a little too hot sometimes in your reaction.
I don't
to
know what
things.
you're talking about.
But in this instance in particular, you were spot on. I mean, my wife and I the other day started watching the new Batman movie. It's the only like superhero thing I will watch.
Me
Like,
too.
The only one. I don't want to see Spider-Man, any of that other stuff. Only Batman.
And Marvel, I'm completely out on Marvel.
100%.
After the second or third Iron Man movie, I was out.
And like all the, the Christian Bale movies, like amazing.
They're great.
recently, right? The last like 3 that he did, outstanding
Chris
movies
Nolan.
by any
Is it
metric
Chris
period.
Christopher Nolan was the
Yeah.
director.
Yeah. And, I wasn't that excited about the Twilight guy that they chose to be Batman in this, but I was at least happy it was not Ben Affleck. That would have completely ruined it for me. But to Gizmo's credit, it was awful. I actually think he was too kind to it.
Oh,
It
Wait,
was.
was it too dark?
It's not even
It's
that. It was
just-
just so uninteresting.
Well,
So boring.
the
There's-
acting was awful.
So
The
you
only,
think- so you
the
think
only acting that
character-
was actually really good in it was the woman who plays Catwoman.
I forget.
Kravitz's daughter.
Zoe.
yes.
Zoe
Zoe
Kravitz.
Kravitz. She was great.
You know
But
who
it
else?
also,
You know
it
who
also
else I
helps that
liked?
she's smoking hot.
She is smoking hot.
Okay.
But you know who else I liked in the film was Colin Farrell played the Penguin.
So I'm going to have to disagree.
You
The
didn't like
reason
that?
I'm going to say this, he looked completely unrecognizable at all that it was Colin Farrell. And at that point, like you couldn't tell it was his voice. You couldn't tell it looked like him. I'm like, why did they even cast Colin Farrell? Like anyone could have played that role. It did nothing for me that he was behind
fair.
all these
That's fair.
prosthetics and weird shit they
Yeah,
did with
that's
him.
true.
So I was like, that's kind of a waste
Yeah, that's true.
of casting him.
I
for that
couldn't
role.
recognize him either. Yeah.
So remember when Jack Nicholson played the Joker?
He was awesome.
To me, that was
He was
that
great.
was
Right.
awesome. That was
So
Yeah, and remember Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger
That was
great.
incredible.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
Even Joaquin Phoenix. I thought.
Oh
that
yeah,
was
in the
Wow.
Joker
He's
movie, that
Phoenix.
was great.
He's a great actor.
Absolutely.
He was perfect for that
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
I mean I love Batman. I've always loved Batman, and my wife always teases me because it's just another billionaire superhero, trope or whatever. And I was kind of snarkily making snide comments to you about your departure from the viewing, but I was also disappointed in
Yeah.
it because what I found was that I just wasn't. There was nothing that was grabbing my attention from a storyline. It kind of was like it was kind of bopping around a little bit, and I'm like 45 minutes into it, and I'm still like, "What the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we doing here?"
Yes.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Like, what is
Exactly what we were saying.
Is there anything that's we trying to do here? And I did think I don't like Batman to wear eyeliner. I'm like,
I totally agree.
come
with that.
on, really? So the whole he was playing the vampire thing a little too much.
There was an element about it, and I think I mentioned it on the podcast where I talked about it. There's two factors for me that failed in this movie. Number one was believability. When you're setting up a premise, let's say like the Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix, there's an element that they're trying to make it believable, and they really succided in that film. I don't know if you guys saw it. The
very,
Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix was not a superhero movie.
very
That was a
believable.
thriller, psychological,
it was an origin
story,
movie,
and he
yeah.
was a tortured soul and really did it well. What I didn't like about this film is they tried too hard on believability, and they failed in that for me. I didn't believe this guy was Batman. I didn't believe that any of this was plausible. I didn't believe any of it. And number two, I think that there was an attempt for the film to be too dark and almost feel almost like an A24 film, like Hereditary or Midsommar or these other recent horror films that have really succeeded in the theater, almost like trying to be low budget, but it's not. It's too dark, but they're not succeeding because they're still trying to make it a little fun.
Well, yeah.
I just didn't. Nothing connected for me.
No one really likes post-apocalyptic shit unless there's zombies involved. And like
or
that,
War of the Worlds is
yeah,
good too.
aliens, zombies. When it's Batman in the post-apocalypse, like crazy world, upside down world, then it's kind of like I don't want to.
So I
don't
agree
wanna
with
see
all of that, but I'm even willing to go so far as to say, like, I can accept if they want to do everything you just described. Not my preference, but like I can live with it.
Sure.
The thing that just kills me, I agree with you on the believability. I never felt like the guy was Batman.
No.
Like one of the things that's cool about Batman, right? He's this superhero, but there are times and there are moments where you're like, holy shit, I'd be terrified if this dude, rolled up to me on the street. Like, you watch like Christian Bale, like when he's at his angriest, like he's a scary dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
This guy is a joke.
Well, to me, like even like there was this scene, and this is me. This is okay. This is Gizmo nitpick that you mentioned, right? There's a scene where he's standing in front of you. You can see his entire top to bottom, head to feet. And when he's walking in his boots, it's almost like the boots are too heavy for his legs, and he can't he can't like lift the boot. Like he looks like he's awkwardly trying to maneuver these heavy ass boots that they put on the
It's so
guy.
funny you say that. My wife even noticed that and said something like, "Is there something wrong? Like, look at how he's walking. Like it looked funny. Like you thought like there was something wrong with him when that was not at all supposed to be part of the storyline." The other thing
he's creeping like a vampire. You can't shake that out of his blood. He's creeping.
the other thing that kills me in this movie.
What movie was he in? Twilight.
Yeah.
All of them.
Oh,
Terrible.
Yeah.
But how hard is it for all the little like special effects things they do? Like the Batmobile, it's very simple. It should look fucking cool. It should be fast, sleek, all of that. Whatever thing this guy drove out, it looked like a dune buggy or something that they just like strapped some shit onto. I was like, this is like I could make this product.
Should have like a little orange
This
flag
is
on
not
the
a
back.
Batmobile.
It looked like a black Dodge Viper. I mean, it wasn't.
It was terrible.
It was.
And then, did you even see the like bat suit he's wearing? I'm like, this is not a real like.
Yeah,
Hero.
it looked like Aunt Betsy sewed it for him the night before.
Just everything top to bottom. So we watched half the movie. We stopped. We said we would come back to it. Weeks
never
later,
have.
we have not come back to it.
Yeah,
And
it was not good.
and I
I didn't finish it either.
I know they're making more of them. I hope they make better ones, but it's hard. It's hard for me as a guy. I grew up with. Listen, as a kid, there were a lot of cool Batman movies, and there was never a pretense of believability in the Michael Keaton Batman or the George Clooney Batman. That was always supposed to be stupid. Arnold Schwarzenegger's like Mr. Freeze or Mr. whatever.
Those are awful.
But they were almost more entertaining to
That was
me
fun,
than
though.
They're fun,
Yeah,
because
honestly,
they were
they were
meaning
funny.
to be
One
fun.
and two, the two first Keaton movies,
They were
were
okay.
very entertaining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now you get to real movies with Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale.
I mean, that's
Those movies were
Those are serious
those are
films.
all time.
They're serious films.
Cinematic masterpiece.
all
They are.
three of them.
They are.
All three of them.
Fantastic.
Bane.
So
Oh my god.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
such-
the Bane character, the Heath Ledger's Joker character,
he was awesome.
that
The
was
music.
amazing.
The music.
Hans Zimmer. So so I'm feeling vindicated, in my opinion, of this film.
You should. I honestly feel bad that I thought it was ridiculous that you walked out of that movie. And also, fuck the critics, because the reason that I thought Gizmo was out of his mind walking out, if you look up this movie,
What's that, a 90?
everything from IMDb to Rotten Tomatoes, like,
Yeah.
8 point something, people say it's an outstanding Batman. It's not even watchable.
I felt let down because you were so excited for it.
I was.
You were like showing us like the trailers.
The trailers
getting all
were
amped
cool.
The
up.
trailers look great.
The trailer, they did a great job. And normally I find with movies, oftentimes the trailer is the weakest part. This to me, it was the strongest part. That's if
agree.
I only saw that, I would have been way more satisfied.
It did make $1 billion.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
I'm Batman. So the
Global sales.
I had a Batman backpack when I was a kid.
costume.
No, well, no.
I think I did that for Halloween. one
I
year.
was Batman for Halloween several times, in fact.
I love
Last year?
Batman. I think there's
at the work Halloween party.
there's something every
With Echo as a sidekick.
Actually,
I'm sorry, Walter.
You know what's actually very funny? There's a great photo of my wife and Echo where one year my wife was Catwoman and Echo has this bow tie on and he looks like Alfred from the Batman movies. And there's this great photo of the two of them staring at each other. It's incredible.
That's cool.
So you were saying, Grinder, we interrupted you. You had a backpack.
What was I saying? Oh, I was saying I think there's something like inherent. There's something about little boys wanting to be Batman. Like every little boy wants to be Batman.
Absolutely.
I think because what do you want to do when you grow up? Well, I still want to kick ass and have fun, and have a lot of money. That's basically what Batman is.
Absolutely.
And he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But he has a bad guy edge.
It's like a modern take on Robin Hood in a way.
It's like Elon Musk. If maybe he's like secretly Batman.
If anybody is, it could be him.
It could be Elon. I mean, he fucking goes to space. We're seeing the pictures of the.
Oh, that's
of
a
the
great
cat.
picture. Oh my gosh.
You got to
that's
pass that
hilarious.
around.
We got to pass that around. That is hilarious. And your wife's face is hilarious. She's so in character.
That's cool.
Oh, she's
That's
so
great.
serious.
Look at she's got like the fucker like
So Senator's passing around a picture of his wife holding their cat, dressed as Catwoman and Alfred. It's fantastic. So So anyway, I think it was very disappointing for me. I thought the critics got this one way wrong, and I will not be excited about a future Batman film. I can tell you that.
The thing is, they have to fucking keep making them
They do.
because if you don't make them, you'll lose it. Kind of thing goes up to public domain. Is that what? Am I talking right?
I don't know if that has to do with the movie making. I think just I think
it did.
I think the movie companies, Warner Brothers, unlike Disney, who has everything, they only have so many properties that are almost near guarantee stunners. Every time they go out, they're going to make like Rooster said, $1 billion. I mean, not many movies you can count on that.
I mean, as bad as this movie that you guys are saying is, it still made $1 billion.
Yeah,
there are tons of shitty movies that have made boatloads of money.
All the Fast and Furious
So
films.
that's
have.
why they'll keep
dare
making
you.
it.
Yeah. But it's just so sad because, right, like here's I think a great example. Like if you were to compare this to the whole Bond series, right, like there's a pressure that comes with playing a character like James Bond, like Batman. And when the person who did it before you was so outstanding, if you're the next director, if you're the next lead actor playing Batman, you feel like you need to live up to that. I'm just stunned that by almost every single metric, no one delivered in that movie outside of Catwoman. That was about it.
Yeah. Well,
the Riddler was kind of scary to begin with.
in this film,
Yeah.
see, I just don't like that guy as an actor.
I
Ever since
agree.
he got his brains beat out by Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood with a bowling pin, that guy is like
Oh my God.
a joke
That's
to me.
that guy?
That's that guy.
I hate that guy.
Like that's what I'm saying.
By the way, that's one of my favorite movies.
I love
It's
that
such a
movie.
good movie. But his character in that, you
You
want
wanna-
to punch
you wanna
him as
rip
soon
his
as
head off.
As soon as you see him.
Yep.
And then talking, doing the whole God thing. And
Yep.
Remember the scene with in the mud pool? Love it.
And when he's saying, "I have a milkshake," and
Oh, and
I
I drink
will
your
drink
milk.
you up.
drink your milkshake on a very long straw.
Yeah, so just a hilarious story.
It's called drainage.
Grinder will appreciate this. When I was younger in my career, I guess as a consultant, some other firm we were competing against, we were both working for a client, and I succeeded eventually in edging that firm out of that business. And my boss at the time was like so proud of me, and he just looks at me. He sends me the "I drink your milkshake" video, and he's like, "That was you. I'm very proud."
Excellent. Excellent.
I love that.
So the second half of the Monty Two Boys, I'm getting it's picking up in twang almost.
Yeah, it is.
I'm
It is.
getting even more of what we were talking
Yeah.
about now. I don't know if I'd say it's picking up in strength. Certainly, we've been talking, so I'm not hitting it as much. But the flavor is picking up a little bit for me in that twang. I'm really enjoying it.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's less chocolatey. It's more like leather and twang right now for me.
You're right.
So is twang? Is there an official definition of twang in the cigar book that we're getting?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We should get Lounge Lizard shirts that say the definition of Cuban twang,
Just twang on the back.
and then like what our definition of twang is.
It's like it's the X factor in these cigars that no New World will ever have.
That's true.
No New World will ever have that. They've tried, and I've never tasted it anywhere but in a good Cuban cigar.
We should. Well,
We're gonna make some merch.
we got to make some
We're
merch.
gonna make some merch. So, what are you guys thinking about the Monty 2 right now?
Really
About halfway through.
really love this cigar. Love it.
It hasn't changed much in flavor, but
No.
like you said, like the chocolate notes have kind of subsided a bit, and
It's ramping up
gained a little bit in
body
little
and
strength.
fullness.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's getting its final third, intensity for me right now, which is good and bad. I find that with Cubans, like the final third, sometimes the intensity picks up on some of the harsher areas that are not as well rounded.
I will say though, I think the older the Cuban is, the less you get that.
Yeah, probably.
Right.
Like it smooths out, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
They get
Sure.
smooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
I'm,
you're closer. You're
go
close. When you're down here, you're closer to where the combustion is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cool off, and I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to.
and it's also, I think it's it's intentional by the master blender to blend these cigars the same way and keep them as consistent as possible, cigar to cigar. But certainly they're planning on this little journey that we're going on right now in the blend. They're planning this.
How long
they're
have they
mapping
been?
this
How long
out.
have they been making this guy?
This has been since the 1950s and 1940s, even before.
So imagine that. Imagine the pressure on that guy
Yeah.
to be like, you have to make a Monty 2 taste the same way it tasted in 1952.
Do you think it tastes like it tasted back then?
There's no way.
It's
There's too many plastics in the soil these days.
You know, you know what
Not
I
in
love?
Cuba.
You know what I love though, and we talked about this, and this is, talk about the journey of smoking Cuban cigars, and in a room like this, like to me, the fact that you guys are all enjoying this as much as I've been recently enjoying this, like it does enhance this experience of sharing cigars, and it's really, really wild that for $15 that we can have such a quality experience with a hand rolled it's really amazing to me.
I love what you're saying because it's funny. I mean, before you had tried a Monty 2, Bam and I feel like we're really the only lizards
Yeah.
regularly smoking Monty 2s.
That's
I know
true.
Rooster had gotten a bad box and was not so crazy about them at the time. And I'm not sure if Grinder maybe just wasn't on this cigar at that time or if you got into them later, but I did not feel this was a stick that like I would light up and everyone would be wanting to light up the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is great.
It is great. It'll be interesting in the next few months, future purchases, what they're like.
Yeah, and I feel like right now, based on not only my experience smoking these and having had older ones, but I'm curious. Not only are we in like a really special window right now with these cigars and others. I mean, look at D4s.
Yeah.
Look at
Maybe.
Upman 2s. I mean, the last couple of years of those P2s. I mean, I think we're just in a special window
Maybe.
of Cuban cigars,
Mhm.
and I'm curious what these that we're smoking right now, if we hold them for 2, 3, 4 more years, are they going to get better?
Right.
How are they going to change? Are they going to get worse? Who knows? But I'm going to smoke the shit out of these. man.
Absolutely.
No question
Savoring
about
every
it.
cigar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's still burning really, really, really well.
Look at the
too.
combustion, man.
Yeah,
It's
combustion,
It's
the
insane.
smoke output. The only time I've had to touch it up when I was talking.
Yeah.
Give it a little touch up.
It's like the perfect amount of combustion. There's some cigars, like I think I talk about some of the larger ring gauge Cubans, like the E2, the Partagas E2, or even a QD54, where like you're a chimney. The smoke output is even overwhelming sometimes, and you have to kind of be in the mood for that.
Yep.
And then others that just don't draw all that much. But it's like the perfect amount of smoke output.
Yeah.
What's the ring gauge on this, Kiz?
54?
It's 52.
52. See, like this is about where I am right now. This is probably about as wide of a ring gauge I'm ever going to enjoy.
That is a
I-
really interesting comment.
I
I'll
had
tell you why in a second.
I had a Mag 46 today,
Mhm.
and I was sitting in my backyard. It's a beautiful day where we are in this state of the world. And I was reflecting on how much I love that ring gauge. Like
The 46.
46, I'm
The
like,
Corona Gorda, I think, is one of the best.
it was
Perfect
like
size.
the perfect ring gauge for me, and I was just reflecting on how much I like those sticks and smaller ones. And I mean, this is probably this 52 you said, this is about as big as I'd ever go. I'm just more into the smaller sizes these days.
I mean, I just think the torpedo shape generally is just perfect because, right, the fact that it goes to that point at the end, what you're actually
Yeah.
drawing on is actually smaller in ring gauge than the rest of the cigar.
Mhm.
So
Is this a torpedo or a pyramid though? Because there are differences, right?
I would say torpedo.
pyramid.
Really? Really?
So it is a pyramid.
Gizmo is mouthing pyramid as he's
Because I thought we had that. Did we
his
not
rum.
talk about?
We did.
We did.
Uh,
Puba gave a deep dive
gave
on
us-
the
yeah.
differences.
Okay.
Yeah.
He took us to school.
I mean, I'll be honest. I still just use the
Fourth
terms
period
interchangeably. I haven't learned my lesson, but I need to.
I mean, I don't remember. I don't recall.
Yeah, I forget what the difference is.
I don't know. But I sound smart when I say. But is it really?
It's because
Yeah,
you are
this-
smart.
I'm back. This is a pyramid
All right.
for sure. And you know, again, as we get into the battle of the pyramids a little bit, you know, this is the first of them. We're going to do the Upman 2. We're going to do the Partagas P2. We're going to do the Vegas Robanian Unico. And I'm missing something. I don't remember what I'm missing. But yeah, this is definitely a pyramid.
Well,
According to
that
be honest.
Upman 2 episode is going to be off the chain.
Oh yeah, we're going to go.
It's going to be
bonkers
off
on
the
that.
chain.
I mean, it's funny as I'm just thinking about this, like what's special about this pyramid or torpedo shape. We smoke, and I think I'm speaking for all of us, we smoke a lot more Cubans in a pyramid or torpedo than we do any New World.
Absolutely.
Other than the Millennium.
Other than, the Millennium.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally we'll have a Padron torpedo, but
That's right.
it's not, none of them are like,
I smoke a lot of Padron torpedoes. Actually, I don't know what size that is. I forget the name. They have so many sizes. I don't know. Forget the name.
no, they call it the torpedo.
They call it torpedo.
And the 64 line is just called the Torpedo. That was the number one of the cigar of the year this year. In
Oh, was?
in natural? Yeah,
Oh, in natural. Yeah.
And we reviewed that.
we reviewed
Yep.
that one.
Yeah.
Great stick.
You know, going back to Grinder's point about ring gauges for a second, I was doing, I'm always on the internet poking around, and there was a discussion on one of the forums I'm on about 54 ring gauge cigars, and the proprietor of the site was saying that, and I agree with him, that he loves the QD54, and there was another cigar that he loves that he wished.
I hope it's the E2.
His comment, and the E2 was the exception, and I agreed with him on this. The comment was that he wished that the QD54 came in that same flavor profile, tasted exactly the same, just in a smaller ring gauge.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too. Now, the E2, I think, is the only exception that when I see and reach for that cigar, I'm fine with it as it is.
Agreed.
That's a world class cigar.
The Partagas E2 is perfect as it is.
Absolutely.
The other one I'll put in that category too, that I wish came as the same flavor,
Magnum?
Magnum 54.
Ah,
I wish it was
Yeah.
smaller ring gauge, same.
I
I
agree with
wish
that.
that I could get that same cigar
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
in a smaller ring gauge. You know, because you look at the Magnums, the Upmans, the 46, the 50, and the 54, which are the three most readily available, are all very different in flavor.
They are.
To me, the 46 and the 54 are like miles apart
They
in
are.
flavor, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
You know, you're reaching for different stuff.
I love all three of those cigars.
But I like right now when I reach for a QD, I'm either reaching for the Coronas Claros, which is the 46 ring gauge, kind of like the Mag 46, or the QD 50.
Not the 54?
I don't reach for the 54. I have a
Oh.
box of them. I just don't reach for it. I just don't love that ring gauge, and that cigar I'm not that excited about that I'll reach for it that often.
I think the 54 has more flavor.
I do like that cigar a lot.
50 is a good morning cigar. It's
Yeah.
it's got a lot of cedar, and
Yeah.
someone gave us one the other day.
Yeah,
It was,
at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
You know what I liked about it, and maybe this goes to my point of why I'm reaching for the 50 is where the 54 would slot in my lineup. I'm going to reach for pyramids.
Mm.
I'm going to reach for a P2, a Monty 2, or whatever.
Here's a question for you guys. Do you think this Monte 2 is underrated among cigar aficionados?
I would say no. I would say in a lot of aspects, I think it's overrated,
Really?
given my previous experience.
When
with it.
these are good, these are fantastic.
They're fantastic.
So I just looked up the pyramid, like the shape, the difference between a pyramid and a torpedo and a bellicoso. Pyramid kind of tapers all the way down from the head to the toe.
Mm,
You know,
interesting.
not so in
That's
the
right.
torpedo.
Yeah.
And I feel like the what is the BBF?
Bellicoso fino.
No, I know what it is.
We're all
but
confused now.
That's a bellicoso.
The BBF is a
It's a
bellicoso
bellicoso.
because I think it's a little rounded on the top and it flares.
Yeah,
It flares at the foot a little
a
bit.
bit.
Bellicoso, I think, comes straight down and then it goes to a point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the pyramid kind of tapers down from head to toe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pyramid,
The torpedo.
the torpedo is the other way.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Do you want to give the the Appleton Estate Rum, the formal liquor rating.
Let's make it formal.
Let's do it.
All right, Bam Bam, you're up.
I'd take a sip, but I don't have any. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry about that. Hold
okay.
on. I'll give you some.
No, I'm giving it an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Senator?
I have an emotional attachment to this, so I'm going between an 8 and a 9. It's hard to make a rum that's not like overly sweet and that's complex. And I think it's one of the most complex rums at its price points. I'm going to give it a 9.
A 9 is that's a fair score here. Yeah.
I'm going to give it an 8 because I think I gave the Foursquare a 9, and I would put that one notch above this.
Wow. I would give this an 8.
Okay.
I'm not a massive rum drinker, but I like rum a lot, and I like, not added sugars, which I think is an overabundance in the market right now. Very good rum. Very, very well paired. A plus is an 8's pretty solid.
Totally.
So the formal liquor rating on this cigar, on this rum, is an 8.3.
Very good score.
It's a perfect
Great
score.
score.
And honestly,
Perfect.
I would definitely reach for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can find it.
If you can find it, but I would.
Total Wine has it.
Oh, is that right? Very good.
Yeah, this is really
Yeah.
tasty stuff.
This is something I would keep in my weekly, every 2-week rotation, no doubt about
I
it.
have to say also, so rum's very versatile in that there's almost every occasion it works. But I really love rum, like either with like a Cuban cigar in the summer or in the winter. Like some of the notes you get, like nutmeg and a little spice.
It's a
like
great-
it's
for the
so
holidays,
Great
it's
for
great
the
for holidays.
holidays.
Baking
So great.
spices.
Yes.
In particular, this Appleton would be great. It's a great winter drink.
It is.
Great
This is
point.
like you just had a roast. You're sitting by the fire.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like at the same time, I feel like this is a nice, I'd argue a summer drink in a way.
It's an every time.
Yeah,
drink.
it really. I think you're nailing like that fire. It's cold out. You want something to kind of warm
Think of
your.
all the shit that rum goes into for various
Yeah.
machinations of fruity drinks.
And think of just holiday drinks, right? Like eggnog, they
Yeah.
spike with rum.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I would not mix this with anything. This
I agree.
No,
Yeah, I
right.
wouldn't.
No, it's not meant for
I
it.
think it'd be a.
2 chips of ice and you're golden
be-
for this particular.
I think
Exactly.
the ice
This-
opens it up just enough. I think it just
Yeah.
kind of.
This-
Yeah,
if
it's
you,
rum. Yeah.
I mean, I would. It's just as anathema to fucking putting scotch in a fucking Diet Coke. Like, give me a break.
No,
You just can't mix this.
Just
one.
don't do that around me. I'll smack you.
Just keep your Bacardi silver for
Although I had a black label with a sploosh of what was it?
Club soda.
Sploosh.
Honestly,
Was it good?
it was very good.
All right.
I was surprised.
Pagoda will be very happy to hear you say that.
Yeah,
Where-
yeah.
Was that at the clubhouse?
No, that was in
With the
one of
Magnum-
our
the Magnum?
No, that was in some secret apartment somewhere.
No.
Oh.
I
This is our
won't ask.
favorite restaurant owner.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, he stopped drinking.
Your joke. Wait a minute.
I just saw him last night.
He has
He's not
closets
drink-
fulls
I know,
of bottles.
I know. He goes, I'm not going to drink out of my apartment. Something happened.
Oh,
Something happened at the restaurant. So he goes, I'm not going to drink in public. If I'm drinking, I'm not going to venture out of the apartment.
smart man.
Oh, jeez.
Yikes.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
I don't want to know what that.
So I got to get him a 6-pack of Heineken Zeros next time I see him.
He's self-policing.
And some
That's
Monty
good.
Twos.
So we're coming to the end here on the Monty Two Boys. What's your read right now on this thing? Because I just can't say enough
Yeah,
good things about this.
I know
right
what
now.
I'm going to rate this, and Puba will probably have a heart attack with the rating. But honestly, I feel a lot of guys overlook this cigar. And I know you said you think it's overrated. I think a lot of people overlook it. Like you said, it's ubiquitous, even among this group.
I actually agree with Bam.
Even among this group.
And I don't know, this is just my perception for whatever reason, but I feel like years ago, the Monty 2 was like really held up on a pedestal almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like over the last even 5 years, and I think even longer than that, but even let's just say the last 5 years, it doesn't have the same
Luster,
level of
yeah.
respect or cachet that it once did.
Exactly.
And I can't
I feel the
explain why
same
that
way.
is, but that's how I think
Strange.
you're right, Ben.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because I think there was a number of years when this wasn't that good.
I think he's
Maybe.
right. I think
But I
there was
think
there were
it's
too
good
many
now.
quality control issues for
Yeah.
a while there, and maybe that was generally Cuba. The rise, or sorry, the fall of the Monty 2 was coincidental with a lot of the Nicaraguan cigars taking their place among the top cigars in the world. And I would venture to say that it was kind of cast in that comparative analysis. And when you have Padron dominating so much of the taste profiles, especially in North America and, basically over here, not on that side of the Atlantic, you probably had people just not giving its due consideration.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's some random hypothesis.
No, but I think
of
it's right, and I think too. I think that it was oversaturated. I mean, the stories I've heard about this is that I think I read in Cigar Aficionado they were talking about the Monte 2, and they were saying if you were in an office, you were going to lunch with someone, you were going to have a cigar with someone in the early '90s, and the financial craziness in New York City, everybody was pulling a Monte 2 out. It was the cigar to smoke, and I think that it could have been just an oversaturation of this cigar. A product of everything we're saying, quality, good and bad over the years. And I think that Montecristo has put out some really high-end limited editions and regionals that have kind of, overwhelmed this cigar in its quality. All right, boys. So let's give the Montecristo number 2 its formal lizard rating. FLR, baby. Rooster, you're up.
Yeah, so I'm like really pleasantly surprised by this Monte 2. Much better than the ones I've had in the past. Great flavor, great combustion, good draw. It's perfect. I mean, it belongs in a daily. If you can get this kind of consistency out of a Monte 2 every time, I mean, I'm sold. So I'm gonna give it an 8.
Wow.
Very good.
I'm also giving it an 8. Top tier cigar for me. I smoke a lot of these on the regular basis. It is in my rotation, and I'll keep buying them. It's great.
Excellent. I am going to give it a 9, and the reason is that it may seem like a high cigar versus other cigars that I've rated, but this has found such a high place in my rotation. I'm smoking more of these right now than I am D4s. It's right up there with the Mag 46 and other cigars I'm smoking four times a week or so. So an absolute 9 for me.
Have you thanked me yet?
No, I will after the pod.
Oh,
High praise, Giz.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm going to give it an 8. I love the flavor profile of this. I think it's one of the most flavorful Cubans that we regularly smoke. And it checks every box. I think like Rooster said, I mean, the combustion, the construction, everything's been great. So no complaints.
Excellent. Bam, bam.
I'm at a 9.
Excellent.
Yeah. I've had these for 2 years. Maybe I've had 2 that didn't perform well. Recent purchases are hopefully the trajectory's upward, and I think it's a wonderful cigar, fantastic Cuban. It's a must in every humidor.
I agree.
Every humidor.
The only thing I do want to say, so I explain what I love about this cigar that I gave it an 8, but why I didn't give it a 9 or a 10. As much as I love the flavor profile of this cigar, I would not say that this is an overly complex cigar.
No.
I think like the flavor notes are like very straightforward.
Agreed.
They check the boxes for what I'm looking for. But I think I get more complexity out of some Partagas sticks that are in my daily rotation and some others. So that's the only knock I have on this cigar, but otherwise an outstanding cigar.
So the Composite Lizard score, boys, on the Montecristo number 2 is an 8.4.
Excellent.
It's great.
I think that is a perfect score for the cigar.
Very good score.
The reason why I think it's an interesting comment you make, Senator, about the complexity of it. I totally agree. But there's something about this that stands on its own, I think, in almost every Cuban cigar that I've smoked or that we smoke regularly, in that it has a twang about it. It has something special about it. It has an X factor about it that no other Cubans, even in the Montecristo line. I love a 4. Rooster has given me, I think that was a 1 you gave me, or a 3. I'm not sure. But this one specifically has something about it that is special.
I think the simplicity is what helps it stand alone, in my opinion.
That's a really interesting comment.
It's just a very simple cigar, and it's got that beautiful flavor note, and it's there. It's that simplicity, I think, that gives it its standalone quality.
So I think to Bam's point about every listener should have this in their humidor, I think a great place to start on this cigar. It's so ubiquitous. You could find it anywhere. Get a 10-count box of these cigars. throw it in your humidor, let it acclimate to a lower humidity, get it to 62, and email us if you think we're crazy, because I know that you're not going to, but start with a 10 count. You don't need to dive into a 25 count box. Start with a 10.
I will say, I think with these cigars, the acclimation with the humidity is extra important, because I've had some pretty shitty Monte 2s that were just sat, like when I first got these, the boxes I have now, they were too moist, too dense.
Yeah.
Definitely let it acclimate and come down to like a good Cuban humidity humidity profile, which is the 62.
Yeah, 62-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So awesome. Guys, I am so happy that everybody's feeling as I hoped you would about this cigar. I wish Puba was here. I wish Pagoda was here to give me 6 other opinions
I agreed.
to validate mine. And you know what, Grinder? Thank you for introducing me to the Monte 2.
Hey.
I know you wanted to hear that on air.
Thank you.
So, all right, guys, an 8.3 for the Appleton Estate 12-year aged rum, and an 8.4 for the Montecristo No. 2 from Cuba.
Fantastic pairing. Fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, total luck, by the way. I just
Yes.
kind of called it out, but I'm glad it worked out, boys, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, loungelizardspod, P-O-D, that's loungelizardspod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.